In 1979, scientist James Lovelock wrote a controversial book called Gaia, A New Look at Life on Earth. In it, he described the Earth as a living organism that, like the life teeming within it, was capable of sickness and healing. Today, in an era of global warming, deforestation, and overpopulation, many scientists have come to embrace Lovelock's theory, and they have a warning. The Earth will heal itself by killing us. Gaia is the Greek word for Earth, and the Earth, according to many scientists, is not well. Gaia is striking back, they say, at the source of her problem, the human race. Gaia's revenge will be swift and deadly, unwittingly set in motion by us, the instruments of destruction. With the destruction of rainforest around the world, rare viruses have been released in populated areas. Viruses with names like Ebola and Marburg can kill a healthy person in less than 48 hours. The viral outbreaks are just beginning, but Gaia theory says we're running out of time.
I find the theory of Gaia, where the Earth is seen as a living organism reacting to responses from the outside and stimuli such as deforestation, totally credible.
For more than 20 years, naturalist Arnold Newman has led expeditions deep into the tropical rainforests of South America. He has seen firsthand what deforestation is doing to our planet.
We're losing 1 football field per second in the tropical rainforests. That's 100 acres per minute. If we extrapolate that, we're losing an area the size of Great Britain annually.
Why is an area covering only 7% of Earth's land mass so significant? Because it contains 90% of all life forms.
By the year 2010, that's 15 years away, we'll be responsible for the extinction of 20% of Earth's species. In 60 years, 50% of the species on Earth will be gone, irrevocably.
The Gaia theory suggests that Earth, like man, has vital organs, and that the heart is the rainforest.
We cut down the tropical rainforest. We're not just harming the people who live close by. It has an effect on the overall system, just as if I stuck something in your heart, or in your brain, or in your lung, the rest of your body would react. When I began my research on Gaia, I was skeptical, and I was going to knock the stuffing out of it. I'm from Brooklyn. I am not New Age. And I figured this is one of these sort of oogie-boogie kind of concoctions that is masquerading as science.
But the more journalist Lawrence Joseph learned about Lovelock and his Gaia theory, the more he came to accept it as prophetic. He began to see a frightening correlation between man's encroachment on the environment and the impending destruction of the planet.
We are the threat. We are the problem. There are 5 billion of us on the planet. There is a 250 billion pounds of human flesh on this planet.
The world's population is expected to double within 40 years. With twice as many cars, twice as much pollution, and double the need for natural resources, how will the Earth sustain us?
Every year, we consume about 40% of all the green stuff that the planet produces. With 10 billion people, we're clearly going to be consuming almost everything that the planet produces. We cannot live beyond our means, and we're getting perilously close to doing so.
By cutting away and disrupting the balance, you have, in effect, Gaia's revenge. The ecosystem fights back, and it attacks the people. It harms them with disease and drives them out.
Ironically, it is people who may be Gaia's unwitting accomplices. Deadly viruses once locked deep in the rainforest are now being unleashed by our unrelenting march into remote areas.
We are endlessly fascinated by movies that depict us being eaten by aliens and sharks off Amity. The reality is that we are eaten, and we are eaten by bacteria and viruses, and they are the real threat. Millions of people are going to die from HIV for every person who gets gobbled up by a great white shark, fictional or otherwise.
We're probably only just seeing the tip of the iceberg to all of the viruses that are out there. And there's probably plenty more to come.
Virologist Scott Lane is an associate professor at the UCLA School of Public Health, where he is a leading researcher in the fight against AIDS.
There's a whole web of where infectious diseases are emerging from right now. It's the rainforest, it's the sea, it's the land that we live on. There are airborne viruses, and there are viruses which are sexually transmitted.
If you look at the average American, as described by the recent sex survey, they'll have 5 sexual partners in a lifetime. That means they've got a 1 in 40 chance of encountering somebody who carries a deadly disease. I wouldn't want to do anything that had a risk of 1 in 40 of killing myself. It makes bungee jumping look incredibly safe.
One of the most gruesome killer viruses to emerge from the rainforest is Ebola. Trapped for perhaps centuries in this dense protected environment, it has not been as easy to contain the virus in laboratories and test tubes. Ebola virus was discovered in this country, uncontrolled, in an animal quarantine facility in Reston, Virginia. If the airborne virus had spread outside the facility, thousands, if not millions of Americans would have died a horrible death.
When you're infected with Ebola virus, it seems to grow in all of the cells of your body. Ebola causes your blood to clot, and it also causes your blood to thin at the same time. You may start vomiting blood. You may start sneezing blood. Blood might start breaking out of pores in your skin. And in the meantime, you bruise. Those bruises, they break open. You literally turn into just a petri dish for the virus, and you die a horrible death.
A jet plane and 24 hours is all it would take for one person with Ebola to spread the virus worldwide.
You can be one day in Hong Kong, you can be the next day in New York City. You can be one day in Australia, you can be the next day in China. Jetting around the world is a factor for spreading viral infection.
Is an outbreak of Ebola or another new deadly virus inevitable, or is there still time to prevent Gaia's revenge?
I think there's been a fundamental mistake in the approach of environmentalists, and that's the save the earth notion. Fear, self-interest, is a much greater motivator, and I think when that finally sinks in, and I believe it has begun to, then people will see that the environment is not just another good deed, but it's necessary and beneficial for themselves.
I think it's going to be very interesting to see what path humanity decides on taking. Are we going to be the wise stewards of our planet, or the desecrators of it?
While it is true that pollution, disease, and deforestation are on the rise, there is room for optimism. Global awareness of the Earth's fragility is at an all-time high. And even though recycling one bottle or planting one tree may seem trivial, the cumulative effect could save the Earth.